Okay, let's try this again. Good evening, Bulldogs. I am Brandy Burnwell, the Director of Alumni Relations at Ferris State University, and welcome back to our virtual Alumni Social Hours. We kick off our series this evening with Ferris Forward, an interview with President David L. Eisler. For nearly 2 decades, since July of 2003, Dr. David Eisler has served as president of Ferris State University. At the end of this academic year, Dr. Eisler will retire. Tonight, with 2014 alumnus and Ferris Alumni Association Board of Director member Luke Eddington, President Eisler will sit down to reflect on his tenure at Ferris, what's in store for his final year, and reflect on some of his favorite Bulldog memories. This conversation will be roughly 45 minutes, and at the end of the interview, there will be time for questions. You may ask a question anytime during the presentation by clicking the Ask a Question button near the bottom of your screen, or if you are watching via Facebook Live, simply type the question in the comment section. And now, let's welcome Luke Eddington and President Eisler as they begin their conversation, Ferris Forward, an interview with President David L. Eisler.
Thank you, Brandy, and thank you, Dave, for sitting down with us tonight, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Dave, first of all, welcome. It's been a very busy week for you, I can assume, with movement happening all over campus. You always start every time that I hear you talk with the students, and it's always been your top priority. And I would love to start there this evening, if that's okay with you, and talk about how the campus might look a little bit different for first and second year students, and what changes might be seen across campus.
Well, Luke, thanks for having me as your guest tonight. And I think these alumni live events are just a great idea. I think it's something that really makes a lot of sense. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in to visit with us this evening. And Luke, I was thinking about you as we began tonight. You know, it seems like you just graduated yesterday. And I can remember when you were a student, you had to be one of the most active members of the Alumni Gold Club we've ever had.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was thinking of the same thing. I had Brandy look up some of my records of what events I did, and I would do probably about 100 events a year. And the thing that was always mind blowing to me is that you did probably 3 times as many. And did it with a smile on your face. And for instance, something like tonight, 7 o'clock on a Thursday, you're here, happy as can be. So it really is impressive what you've been able to do.
And I can remember you and your friends from the Alumni Gold Club coming around the house and decorating the large Christmas tree in our front window and making our model trains work. And so we miss you, Luke. We need you.
Yeah, it was always that train. For some reason, you had to get the engineering students there to make that work.
So let's talk a little bit about students. This is a busy time for us on campus. Students started moving in the residence halls on Wednesday, and it's really exciting to have them back. And one of the things that's developed over the last couple of years has been this Bulldogs in Action, and that's a group of people who come out and help our students and their families move in the residence halls. And now we use a lot of golf carts for this, which makes a lot more sense than carrying all that stuff from the parking lot. And I was out giving out water yesterday, and there are lots of good feelings. It's pretty hot yesterday, but
yeah.
Students are pleased to be here. Their parents are excited about having them there. But things are different on campus. If you haven't been on our campus over the summer, we took down 2 buildings, and it made a tremendous difference. We took down Taggart Hall. I guess he's going to show Vandercook Hall first, so we'll talk about Vandercook. That's Vandercook right next to Flight, and it's gone. There's a big space there, and it's really quite stunning, and that's where our Center for Virtual Learning is going to be. And so, everyone was in Vandercook Hall. We're sorry, but we took down your residence hall. And then across the street from the College of Business, we took down Taggart Hall, and Taggart had been empty for 5 years. We originally were going to put the new residence hall there, but students told us that they wanted to have that closer to the university center. So a good time to take that down, and that's going to be a green space for now, but lots of changes there. And we have lots of events going on to help our students get acclimated to the university. This afternoon at 4 o'clock, we had a convocation for our honors students and their parents. And it seems like, actually after tonight, we're showing a Spider-Man movie on the quad, 9 o'clock. So people will be out doing that. And we have all sorts of events, combination between student life and residence housing. And one of the things I always look forward to is on Saturday night, we bring all the students out into Top Taggart, and we have some fun and games for them. We talk to them. It's just a nice way for students to get acclimated, to make some new friends, to get out of the residence hall, especially right now, unless you're in North Hall, those residence halls are pretty hot tonight, I suspect. So you don't have a fan, you'll probably struggle a little bit. You may remember that.
Oh, I remember living on campus for all 4 years. It did get toasty during the summer.
And so we're going to have a Sunday where students can meet some of the peer mentors. We're going to have, of course, on Founders Day, we have a full day of events, including dinner for the students out in the quad, and our ice cream social, and then our first football game against the University of Findlay, and then a couple other things that I always look forward to: the Bulldog Bonanza, where students can learn about all the things that are out there in our community, and Rec Fest, when we open up the rec center for our students. But there's lots going on, and we really have 2 years of new students on our campus, last year's and this year's. So helping them get acclimated, helping them feel comfortable, helping them feel at home here at Ferris is really important for us.
Yeah, obviously last year, everyone really learned to be flexible and obviously roll with the punches. And it's so nice to see that students are able to have a pretty much back to normal experience and being so flexible this year as well. It's really great to see and hear. So that's just great news. Talking a little bit more about some of the changes to campus. So like you said, I graduated in 2014. The buildings all stay the same, but the roads change, and some of the buildings even change because they're not there anymore. Can you talk a little bit more what physically is changing on campus?
Well, I think this is a year with a fair amount of construction going on. So we already talked about the Center for Virtual Learning, but that's a $32 million building. It's going to include a lot of our digital programs. It's going to have digital media, software engineering, electronic animation and game design, television production, our information security and intelligence program. We're going to make that the home for all of virtual learning at Ferris. So that'll be a home base for them. We're going to have a cybersecurity arena in this building. We're going to have an esports arena, and located right next to the library, there's a lot of synergy there. And then on the top floor, we're going to have all our teacher education programs, because I think teachers need to know more about using technology. And so we're very excited about the project. We hope it'll be finished in 2023, but it's a very distinctive building, and we're really excited to have that underway. And then we're going to be renovating the Alumni building, the oldest building on our campus, constructed in 1929. It survived the Great Fire in 1950. And we're going to redo that building. We're going to put an additional floor in it, and that's going to be the home for all of our IT people at Ferris. Right now, they're in the West building. The West building is not a really good facility. So we're going to renovate the Alumni building and move the IT people there, and then knock the West building down. And then I think we'll have a groundbreaking for this building a little bit later in the fall, but we're going to do a major renovation expansion to the Ava Glaben Sports Complex. And we're really blessed to have some amazing sports teams at Ferris, but our facilities are not what they should be. So this is going to be a facility that solves a lot of problems for us. What we're going to do is we're going to build a new arena. It's going to be called the Bulldog Arena. That's going to be primarily for volleyball, and it'll be on the same level as Wink Arena. So it'll actually be in front of where Wink Arena is as you move towards State Street. So we're really excited about building that for our volleyball athletes. And then we're going to take the volleyball arena and we're going to make that a strength and conditioning facility, because we need much better strength and conditioning facilities for our athletes. And then we're going to take parts of the rubber room and we're going to build some team rooms in there, and also make that handicap accessible. And then we're going to fix up all the locker room facilities that we haven't fixed up so far. We're going to build a new area for our sports medicine pieces, but it'll be a great place for our athletes. We're also going to solve some of the logistics in the building. If you've ever tried to walk from the front of the building to volleyball or to the rubber room, you have to go through the ice arena to do that. So we're going to make that so you don't have to do that anymore. And I know that'll be nice for our coaches and our athletes, and they deserve a great facility. We're going to build them a great one. So I look forward to that. But lots of changes on campus, but we're getting back to the things we know that we do well. Our residence life, our housing, our food in the Rock and in the Quad Cafe, and having classes in person with our faculty, being able to meet with our staff in person, because we know that's what our students want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very interesting for me from an alumni perspective, looking at all the activity going around with Res Life and all that kind of stuff. It's exciting to see campus come back with life, and it's just great. You touched on athletics for a little bit there towards the end, and I'd love to hear more about what's in store for 2021 and 2022.
Well, we have such a great winning tradition at Ferris. I think we're going to continue to dominate as we've done the last couple of years. Our football team I think Tony Anise has 150 athletes on the football team. And, I believe that everyone on our offensive line is a sixth-year student. So there's a lot of experience there, a lot of talent. I'm sure other teams have experience and talent too, but we're really excited to see them take the field a week from tonight against the University of Findlay. And we're expecting a great crowd at the end of Founders Day. So it'd be nice to have football back and tailgating back and all those exciting pieces. And I'm really excited about having volleyball back in the fall. And our team's already off to a great start. They had an exhibition against Oakland University, which is a Division I school, and they defeated them. So, it's always fun to watch our women play. Volleyball is one of my favorite sports at Ferris, but I don't ever want to get out there on the court with them, because they really hit that ball hard. But I think we're looking forward to a great year of our athletic teams, and it's nice to have them competing in a full season, back to full strength, and we're going to do everything to keep them healthy and safe.
That's great to hear. That's great. So Brandy kind of alluded to it earlier, but this is obviously a very big year for you, not only getting back to normal, but it's also going to be your last year as sitting president for the university, the second longest. Only the first longest was Woodbridge Ferris. So you've obviously seen incredible changes from the campus. It was interesting. You started in 2003, and I was looking to see what was happening. Friends was still on the air. iTunes had just launched with Apple. There was no such thing as YouTube or iPhones or anything else that the kids are walking around with nowadays. And I would just love to hear some of your experiences looking back through the years of what were some of the highlighted events that you remember.
Well, thanks, Luke. And, I'll try to see if I can arrange this in some sort of chronological order. And I'm hoping some people remember these events with me. But I think I'll probably start with the excitement that Patsy and I had when we were selected to come to Ferris. It was very, very exciting for us. It was thrilling for us. And start in July. There I am with darker hair, I think, at that point.
You have more books now, though.
Yeah, that's true. I think they've accumulated fewer plants. And so we were ecstatic about moving here. And one of the things that people want you to do is to have an inauguration. And we did an inauguration, I think it was in October. And there's a couple things I remember from that. One was that I remember the campus police ticketed Patsy's car that day. And so we never let Marty Bledsoe, our director of public safety, live that down. We kept the ticket. So we still have that. And then this is speaking at, I think, early in that part. And for our inauguration, we were really blessed. Patsy's mom could be here, and my parents could be here. And as part of our inaugural remarks, we were able to announce that we were creating scholarships in their names. And it was a complete surprise to them. And you don't often get the opportunity to say thank you to your parents. And that was just a really special day for us. And it was great to have them with us. Some really special folks from us were there. And then for the evening, for dinner, what we did is we did a traveling supper. And so we had more food service. We had the West Side then. So I think we did appetizers there. And I think we did salad in the Mascar Grill. And then we did dinner over at the Rock. And then I think we had desserts over at Center Ice. And at that point, everything we had, the students had that night for dinner. And so everybody got to be a part of that dinner. And I can remember in the Rock, and there was a young man there had this, about the largest plate I've ever seen of shrimp and steak. It was just unbelievably high. But that was a great day for us. And it was really exciting, very memorable. And I think what I'll skip forward to, since we're getting ready for it, is Founders Day. We created Founders Day in 2005. And when you come to Ferris, you can't help but be impressed with the way that we celebrate our history and our traditions. And when we began that, it was just a very simple thing. And now this has become this great celebration at Ferris. And we have the tent on the quad for everyone to have lunch, and we feed the students dinner, and we have a football game that's even more special. But that was really an exciting time for us, and we were excited to start Founders Day. I think I'll fast forward maybe 2007, 2008, and that's when we made an important decision that we were going to have a chief diversity officer, now diversity inclusion officer. And we did a search and we hired David Pilgrim, and that really changed our university because it created an emphasis upon diversity inclusion. And one of the things that's happened is the diversity of our student body has more than doubled in a decade. So that was a very, very important piece for us. From that, we moved into a very important series of discussions about strategic planning. And we set out to work on values, mission, and vision. And Ferris was founded in 1884, and I think everybody thought they knew what the values were, but we never agreed on them. And one of the things we discovered pretty quickly is that not everybody agreed on what those values were, but we worked really hard on those. David Pilgrim helped chair that. We created those values, and those are the values we celebrate today. And then we worked on mission, and mission was a little bit divisive. And you could attract a crowd at Ferris by wanting to talk about mission, and sometimes there was a fair amount of disagreement. But what I discovered was we came to understand that careers was a nexus for us. And so once we found we could agree on careers, we found we could agree on a mission statement. So our mission statement, which is the mission statement we have today, is 31 words, but we use the word careers twice. And then once you've got values and mission going, then you're on a roll. So you want to go ahead and get vision. And so we founded a vision statement. Now we changed our vision statement in this last strategic planning piece because you have to continually update your vision. But then I think the piece that was so interesting about this, we've done over 75 focus groups, meetings on this, that once we agreed on those things, we took them to our academic senate. They approved them unanimously. Our board approved them unanimously. But I think those were very, very important pieces for us to agree on values and mission and vision. And whenever a new employee comes to Ferris, I invite them to breakfast and I tell the story about how we found these things. There were a couple other things we did that year that were significant. My wife Patsy has always been an active part of the university, and she had this idea that students needed dress clothes for when they were going for an interview or for an internship. And so she created the First Ladies Attic. And what we encouraged people to do was to give, slightly experienced clothing to this. And David Pilgrim has taken that over and done a great job with it. And I remember when we were first getting started, a young man walked down the hallway and he said, "I have your shoes." And he was wearing them. And I said, "Well, they're lucky shoes, so I'm sure you're going to get the job." But because a lot of our students don't have that kind of dress clothing, and you need to dress for success. And so that's been a great part of what we've done. And then I think I'll just go forward the next year, because 2009 was a very exciting year. It was the 125th anniversary of the university. And so we enjoyed having the 125th anniversary so much that we celebrated it for a day and a half. And that, I think it says 575 years in dog years on the back of that t-shirt. I still have some of those. They're getting a little thin now, but that was very exciting. And so that was a great opportunity for our campus to come together and our university to come together. We really loved doing that. That was also the year that we started there's part of that. Very exciting of the celebration. That was also the year that we started our Veterans Breakfast. And so we, for Veterans Day, or as close as we can get to Veterans Day, we throw a breakfast for everybody who's a veteran or in the active military at Ferris or in Big Rapids who wants to come. And we have wonderful speakers. We had the Medal Honor winner. We've had generals. We've had our own graduates. We had Art Tebow as a member of our board of trustees come speak to them. And that's become a part of our traditions too. But jump ahead to 2011, and this was an important year for us academically because that's when the Higher Learning Commission came for a review. And that's a very involved process, and you worked for years getting ready for that. And that was really significant for us because that was the first time the HLC came to Ferris and gave us complete reaccreditation without any follow-up visits, without any follow-up reports. And that was the first time that happened in the history of the university. And we followed that up in 2020 with our latest HLC review. They do it every 10 years. And we had a complete clean bill of health then. I just think that just shows the quality of the academics, the quality of the student experience at Ferris.
Yeah, I remember that was my freshman year, and I remember getting tossed the keys to a brand new Impala to drive them around. It was and studying a map because I was so new to campus and figuring out where things were. So I remember that very well, and I remember the sigh of relief when we got full accreditation.
Yeah, you must have done a good job because they said yeah. So thank you. I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
Then the next year, we realized that student debt was increasing for our students at Ferris. And one of the things Mr. Ferris believed in was that education was an opportunity, but it's not an opportunity if you can't afford it. And we were deeply concerned about how debt was increasing. So in 2012, we really placed a strong emphasis on student debt because we have a lot of students who go to Ferris who are working their way through, who are hardworking, don't have a lot of means, and we have to be careful about what we cost and how students can afford it. And so we've had some great success there. That same year, that was when we moved the Jim Crow Museum down to the lower level of the library. And I remember how exciting we were. You know, we raised the money for that. I think it was maybe $1.5 million. And now we're talking about building a brand new standalone museum. And that's $18.3 million. And I look forward the day we can break ground on that, but we still have some money to raise there. That's what it looked like when we moved in the Jim Crow Museum. That same year, we opened our Center for Latina Studies, and that was really important because of the number of increase in the Hispanic students. And we wanted to build a home for them, a place that they could feel comfortable in. And so we've had some great leaders of our Center for Latina Studies. That same year, we had finished the federal building. When we made it, we redid the federal building in Grand Rapids. We built it for Kendall College of Art and Design, and it was a great project. It was a $24 million project, one of the last great historic public buildings in Grand Rapids, and we won the governor's prize for historic preservation with that building. And I remember when we were invited to the Capitol and received this proclamation from the governor. It was a great day for Ferris. We had a couple other awards that came our way. 2013, Campus Compact named us their engaged campus. And I think that really goes the things we do, engage students in improving our community, making the world better. And then in Grand Rapids, we received their Uncommon Greatness Award. And that was because of the way that we reached out to the minority communities in Grand Rapids. A lot of people contributed to that. Money Magazine named us one of the nation's most rapidly improving high value campuses. Wall Street Journal put it in our top 500 listing. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. 2018, we created the Center for Academic Literacies, which is a great piece for students in terms of getting help at Ferris. Certainly lately we've been dealing with the coronavirus, and we had a strong response to the tragic killing of George Floyd and our efforts for diversity and inclusion. And then we just finished off a new university master plan, but that's just kind of a quick look back about some of the things that have happened. Very exciting things for us at Ferris.
Yeah, it's incredible because, I mean, obviously we went through that in no time at all, but for people that have worked on some of these projects alongside you, it is just, it's monumental what you've been able to accomplish over the last 18 years and what Ferris State's been able to accomplish. Even going back now, it's funny, I still like to think of myself as a young alum, even though I'm not as young as I'd like to think I am. And it's just incredible what a great place it's been. I travel a lot for work, and lately I've been wearing my Ferris face mask, and it becomes more and more obscure places where that Bulldog gets recognized. And it's a lot to do with a lot of the things that you just mentioned.
You never know when you're going to meet a Ferris alum. And, it's really important that we say over and over tonight that these things that have happened during this period, this isn't my work. This is our work. A lot of people worked on these things: faculty, staff, alumni, supporters, donors, political leaders. So it really takes a village to run a university, and so this is everyone working together.
Yeah, and it is a very special village. So you talked about some of the people that it takes to make all this stuff happen. One of the big pieces of that is fundraising, and that's been a focus of yours. It's something that has never been at the forefront in Ferris's history, but you've really focused on this and made some great strides. I'd love to hear some more about kind of some of the fundraising efforts and where you see that going in the future.
Well, we've been really fortunate with fundraising, and we have wonderful alumni, wonderful donors, wonderful supporters, and it really means something when a person is willing to invest in our institution, in our students, in our future. And I think back 2006 was the first $1 million gift we received, and that was a gift from the Dow Foundation for our optometry building, and that was such a big deal. We had not received a $1 million gift in quite some time, and it was very, very important for us. And I talked a little bit about when we were redoing the federal building, the Ferris building in downtown Grand Rapids, but that was really the piece where our fundraising began to take off. That was an $8 million campaign, and we received three $1 million gifts, one from the Wege Foundation, and one from the Meyer Foundation, and one from and I forgot the third one. It'll come to me in just a second. $1 million from the Pamela and Dan DeVos Foundation for our School of Fashion Studies. That was very, very exciting. And then you kind of jump forward to 2015, and then something, magic happened for us. And wonderful alumnus, successful alumnus and entrepreneur, Phil Hagerman made a $5 million gift to the university. It was the largest gift we'd received. And I think that it did a couple things. It really increased our confidence. I think it helped us believe that we could do this. And that was really the part that started the flywheel for this comprehensive campaign that we're in, this now and always campaign. And we set out to raise $80 million, and we raised $80 million. And so then we increased the goal to $115 million. And now we're at $111 million. We're going to finish this campaign in the next couple of months. And to think that we could raise $115 million at Ferris, that was far beyond anyone's expectations when we began here. Big part of this has been the Ferris Future Scholarship Challenge. And that's a great story. One year I came back from vacation, and Sally Depew was my budget officer, said, I can't believe what happened. She said, all those years you've been testifying in Lansing that the state has been taking too much money for the Michigan Public School Employees Retirement System. She said, what's true? Because they were going through a piece, because the liabilities of that were going to show up on our balance sheet because of a change in federal accounting standards. And so what they found is that we had prepaid $18 million from the state. So what we learned is that we were going to get an $18 million check back from the state. And so I talked with our board of trustees at the time, and I said, look, there's lots of things we can do with this money, but let's do something that lasts for a long, long time, because we can spend this, but let's invest this. We have a lot of students who need assistance at Ferris. And so I said, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to give that $18 million to our foundation. And they did. And then I talked over our foundation. I said, let's take $3 million a year over a 6-year period, and let's free up those $3 million, and let's match new gifts, new scholarship endowment gifts, or gifts to existing scholarship endowments at Ferris. And so we're out to raise $36 million in endowed scholarships, and that's really a dream for us. And so many people have contributed and created scholarships. And if you're listening tonight and you'd like to learn more about the Ferris Future Scholarship Challenge, we'll help you. But we have probably over 220, 225 new endowments. And you think about what that does as for students, because that's going to go on forever. And as the principal increases, those amounts will increase, and hopefully they'll increase faster than inflation. It's a great investment that really helping our students both now and in the future. So all those things have happened, and they're very, very, very exciting for us. And I guess the other piece I would suggest with this is that, the other thing that's happened is the assets in our foundation. When we started at Ferris, those assets were $18 million. And now those assets are over $122 million. You think about what that will do for Ferris today, tomorrow, long in the future. And that is really, really exciting. And so looking at our campaign, we've had 7 $1 million gifts. We've had 6 $2 to $3 million gifts. We've had 3 $5 to $6 million gifts. And this is just really exciting stuff. So we're excited about fundraising at Ferris.
Yeah, talking about getting some of that money back from the state too. We were the only university in that position, and I think that we were the only ones that took it and did exactly that, and really went to our mission and really went through with that. And that's just such a great thing for our students.
There were 7 institutions that received those funds back, and we were the only ones that invested like that. And I'm just so proud of our board of trustees and so proud of our foundation board that they had the wisdom to do this. Just very, very exciting.
Yeah, it's been a great addition. So another thing that obviously takes up some financial resources is buildings, obviously. And we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'd love to deep dive this a little bit more of all the changes to buildings and what's new and what's coming down the pipeline.
Well, for Founders Day, I always like to take a look back and say, well, this is what we looked like then. And It's kind of like a trip down memory lane, but we've done $400 million in construction over this period. It's just an immense investment in our university. And I think back to the first project we did, which was the IRC, that connector between the IRC and the business building. And we redid the IRC, and that was like a $7.5 million project. And I was trying to shop the optometry building in Lansing, and I wasn't having any success, but I kept pushing and pushing. And Dave Farhat was the representative from Muskegon. He said, Dave, you're not going to get your optometry building, but if you come back with a $5 million project, we'll get you in the bill. So I called back and talked to Rick Duffett, who was our VP for Administration and Finance, and Scott Hill Kennedy, who was working also with us at the time. And I said, look, I need a $7.5 million project, and I needed it in an hour. And so we had this, and so they got this together. And so, I got that. We started pushing on. Finally, Dave said, call off the dogs. You're in the bill. And so that was our first project. And that really made a difference. And then, the first self-funded project we did was the Rock renovation. And you think about Laurie Helmer and her leadership for food services and her idea that we were going to create this whole new way of student dining. And that, she knew what she was doing. And, when they say the Rock rocks, that's really her doing. But that was an exciting project. And then we got optometry funded. Optometry was hard to fund, not because we weren't deserving, but because there's not a lot of student credit hours. And some of the bean counters didn't like that so much. But the Michigan Optometric Association were great partners with us. And so that was another $29.5 million building. Right after that, we did another self-funded project, the East Campus Suites. Seems hard to believe that was 2010. I can remember the day we dedicated them with Al Granger there as a part of it. Then we did the federal building. I talked about that. The same time, we made an investment for pharmacy on the Medical Mile on Michigan Avenue, where we got the seventh floor of 25 Michigan, and we made that for our third-year pharmacists. And had great help again from the legislature. Folks told us we couldn't get money for a condo project, but we did, and so we got that to go forward. And then, one of the projects that I really believe was important for the university is we needed a place for our students. And you think about the students on campus. We have about 3,000 students on campus, but if we have 9,000 or 10,000 students attending the Big Rapids campus, 6,000 to 7,000 of those are commuting from somewhere. They may just be walking across the street. And so we needed a place that they could call home. And that's what we wanted to do with the University Center. We wanted to make that a place where students could come and sit, hang out, feel comfortable. And I think that's just been a fabulous addition to our campus. And we didn't have to teach our students how to use that a bit. They knew right from day one. And when we did that, we took down Masslink, we took down Carlisle, later took down Helen Ferris, and we also took down Pennock when we did the optometry building. But we celebrate all those buildings on the boards that are in there, so you can learn about those buildings and learn about that. And so that, along with the Quad Cafe, was really, really important. And then, Ferris hadn't built a residence hall for 50 years. 50 years. And so that means that's a long time between residence halls. And so we were determined we were going to build a residence hall. And I talked about it earlier. We're going to put it where Taggart was. But we listened to our students, and they said, put it next to the classes. So we put that next to the University Center. And we took out the street there. It's another street we moved to. That street that used to go between the Rankin Center and and the automotive. And that was a $28 million project, 408 beds, and we built it in a year. And if you haven't been on campus, the next time you're on campus, take a moment and go look at that building. Get someone to let you in, because we keep the doors locked. But get someone to let you in, see what a beautiful place that is for our students. And there's just the best view out of that on the 3rd and 4th floor looking across the campus. It's just glorious. And then another capital outlay project, 2018, $29.5 million. We extended the Swan Annex, and that's a beautiful new home for mechanical engineering technology and for welding engineering technology. At that same time, we did about $9.5 million in the Student Rec Center, which was a wonderful addition and made that tired building really pop. And I talked about the things we have going on right now. So lots of building over that time. Lots of buildings over that time.
Yeah.
Much more to come.
What's that?
Out the Jenke Center for our golf management program.
Yeah. And all those buildings are just absolutely gorgeous. If you do get a chance to go back to campus, go and see it, especially those the Res Hall, North Hall. That's not the hall that you probably lived in. Yeah, just absolutely great. So the other thing that goes in those buildings, obviously, is the academic side of things. And academics has changed a lot more than I think people realize, because when you go to Ferris, you go for one program normally, and you stick in that one. You might change a couple times, but you really don't kind of see the rest of the picture, the big picture. So I'd love to hear some more about what has changed from an academic standpoint on campus as well.
Well, of all the places I've worked in higher ed, and this is our 47th year in higher ed, there's no place that I've worked where the faculty are more willing to create new programs and to revise curriculum. And so I had to have somebody I actually had to total this up, but in the time we've been at Ferris, there have been 57 new academic degrees. Can you imagine that? We talk about 180 degrees, so that means about a third of those are new. Yeah. And to break those out, that's 13 associates, 33 bachelors, 7 masters, and 2 doctorates. And that's stunning. No college in the world does that. That's just a wonderful tribute to our faculty. The other piece is we've expanded. When I came to Ferris, we had 7 locations where we partnered with community colleges. I think we're at 21 community colleges right now. And when we started, we really didn't have any SCH that were in fully online programs. And now we have about 50,000 SCH in programs that are only online. And when you talk about academics, it's really about student success. And so we've increased our first year retention from 64% to 80%. We've increased our 4-year graduation from 19 to 36%. And we've increased our graduation rate from 36 to 61%. And the real purpose in going to college is to get a degree. When we started, like 2,600 degrees a year. We award 4,300 degrees a year. So lots of changes with academics over these years.
Yeah, and you touched on this earlier, and I kind of want to hear some more about it too. But you talked about how those degrees don't mean anything if you can't afford them, and if you don't have the opportunity to get that. So what are some of the things that you took an aggressive stance on compared to other universities, and this university as a whole has taken an aggressive stance on?
Well, one of the ways that you control student debt and affordability is by constraining costs. And when we started in 2003, Ferris was the third highest cost of the 15 Michigan public and the 4th highest tuition. And now we're the 10th highest cost and the 12th highest tuition. And so I think we've really worked hard on that. We started, financially it was 5% of our budget. And now it's 13% of our budget. And that amount's only going to go up. But the thing I think is most important is net price. And if you heard me testify in Lansing, I talk about this a lot. Net price is what a student pays. That's, in other words, the full cost of going to school. Tuition, room and board, meals, books, everything, minus whatever they get in financial aid. It doesn't count for loans. And since 2009, we've reduced our net price by 7%, the cost that students pay. Over that time, the Michigan publics have increased by 12%, and that's almost a 20% difference. And so last year we launched the Ferris Lunch for students of high financial need, where they don't have to pay anything to go to school. And since 2009, we've reduced the average student debt at Ferris State University, which is what we set out to do, to keep our education affordable.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. And the opportunity, and that's a word that I always go back to whenever I talk to other people about Ferris, is opportunity. And the people that are able to go to Ferris and have that opportunity to get great careers afterward have obviously just made some great personal stories. And I was just wondering if there's any alumni or anybody that supports the university that sticks out that you want to talk about or highlight.
Oh, there's so many, Luke. You think about all these alumni ambassadors now that we work with. You think about the members of the alumni who've been on our board of trustees. I think back to Bruce Parsons and Tom Cook, Greg Patera, a whole group of people, the Ferris alums that hired me when I was inexperienced and gave me a chance. I think about the folks on our foundation board, and there are lots of thoughts there. Kurt Hoffman, who chairs our board now. Tim Murphy's going to chair our board. But I think about somebody like Dick Shaw, who's done everything at Ferris. He was a student, a faculty member, he's a member of the National Authority on HVACR. He's been the chair of our foundation board. I don't know how many Ferris Challenge scholarships he's done, but we could take and go from now until 10 o'clock. And I can name alumni. It's like when we go on the road in Florida, Arizona, California, Denver. There's so many people to visit with, and every one of them has contributed to our university. We're very, very grateful.
Yeah, so let's touch on that a little bit. So you said Florida and Arizona. Some of these people watching right now might be from there, or they don't realize that we do have alumni events. Can you explain some other ways that people can get involved with and give back to the university?
Well, sure. And the easiest way to begin this is to connect with the alumni office, because they'll steer you and to what you're interested in. If you have some interest in supporting the university, certainly the Ferris Foundation, but Brandy, Jeremy, that entire crew, they know where the ambassadors are and where the events are and where these are coming. But obviously people here tonight are already connected because they found this. So they're connected in some respects. But
right.
We love connecting with you, and we love building new events, because what we find is if we create an event, create a reason for people to come, people that we didn't even know were in the area will show up, and all of a sudden we'll have new friends and new supporters, and it's always exciting to see who we meet next.
Yeah, that's great. So talking about events, is there anything from a history or tradition standpoint that you look forward to?
Well, always look forward to the beginning of school. If you can't get excited when students show up, there's such a feeling of excitement, of opportunity, of a new beginning, and you just, if having been to college, you can remember what it was like when you were there. And our daughters have both graduated from college, and I can remember taking them to college, and I can remember Patsy crying almost the whole way home when we dropped our older daughter off at college, and she actually missed this immense mountain lion that ran across in front of the car. and you can see that on parents. They're excited, but they're a little apprehensive. And I always talk to the brothers and sisters, because I want to say, well, who's got their room next? So, and very rarely is there someone who says, oh, that hasn't been decided. It's all, I have that room. That's already nailed down. So you just love talking about that. And then I think, I love our foundation gala. That's become such a spectacular event. It's fun to dress up and celebrate our students and our faculty and the giving to Ferris. And then, the most important event of the year is commencement. And so we love commencement at Ferris. And I think at Ferris, we do a great job of commencement. I think this year I'll touch 120 commencements at Ferris. And so one of the things that I started doing at my first commencement is telling student stories, because I think sometimes you can get caught up in the hoopla and you forget, in the pomp and circumstance, you forget that this is really about the story of individual achievement. Every single student story is important. So, I've told a lot of student stories, and we're going to publish a book later this year that's kind of a collection of some of those student stories. And our students do amazing things. And when I went back and started reading those stories, I can remember trying to tell those stories and trying not to cry while I was doing it, because those students, they've overcome so much more than most of us ever had to do to college. And you just want to say, how were you able to do this? But when you talk to the students, you know why, because they have just this intense commitment, this intense desire to achieve and to change things around for them. And so the commencement is always the highlight of any school year.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and I'm excited to hear about that book. I've been to probably 40 commencements over my years from working them, and those stories were always tugging at heartstrings. So that's great to see that can happen. So we're kind of coming up into an interesting timeline for you and the fact that you're retiring. So it was interesting when I heard the news. I told Lauren very selfishly, I wish that we had another 18 years with you because of everything that you've done. But I've gotten to know you and Patsy over the years, so I'm grateful for you guys to be able to finally get a break. So what's next for you guys?
Well, first of all, there's a whole year that we have to work on him.
Yep.
We're going to work as hard as we possibly can with everybody in our community to make certain that we turn Ferris over to the next president in the best possible shape that we can, so that they can continue and not miss a step. And we're going to be there cheering them on as they do that. So, I turned 70 this year, so this seemed like the right time for our family. I love what I do, and Patsy loves Big Rapids and loves the university. So we're going to stay in Big Rapids. We're going to keep our home here, and we're going to stay here. And I'm going to take a year to probably recharge, and then I think if they'll have me, I'll probably teach a course or two. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm not going to say we're going to be in Big Rapids shoveling snow in January. I don't think that's in our future. But we do want to spend a little bit more time with our grandkids and with our kids. But we're going to look forward to continue to be involved with Ferris, and maybe occasionally they'll even still let me play in the band. Who knows? But
yeah,
we love this.
I'm sure they will.
But we love Ferris. We love Big Rapids. We love Ferris. So we're going to stay involved with the university as is appropriate. And we've made so many friends through the university, alumni and supporters and donors, and we're going to look forward to still continuing to connect with them when opportunities present. But we're looking forward to this year and what can be accomplished.
Yeah. And it's so nice too that we're going to be able to do so much more of this in person and all the events that the Alumni Association is getting together. So I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys for probably 5 or 6 more events. So I can't wait. So we did get some questions from alumni. So thank you for those who presented some questions. The first one actually not the first one. Sorry, I got my order wrong. So how many students are planned to be attending classes at the new IT tech building on campus?
Oh, that's a great question. And one of the things you'll discover if you ask me a lot of questions is I don't know the answers. I don't know the number of students that are majoring in those programs. I'm sure somewhere we have the data. And if we can capture your email address, we'll get that answer. We'll send it to you. Yeah.
So for whoever sent that, either send another message to the same thing that you asked the question to, and Ben from our alumni office will get that answer to you. The next question is President Eisler, and I couldn't agree with this one more. I read it as it was coming through. During your presidency, you and the university have encountered some difficult times. How do you overcome these hurdles, maintain your composure, and stay the course? My friends and I have always admired your integrity when faced with difficulty.
Well, thank you for the question. It's a great question. And I think with experience, you learn how to handle these things. And you have to understand that universities engage many people and deal with forces that sometimes we can't control. And so you have to learn when you do this job that you can't control some things that are going to happen. And so there's no point about getting excited or upset about them. What you do is you figure out how you're going to deal with them. And you surround yourself with people who have ability and aptitude, and you give them the opportunity to dig in these things and give you advice. And then I think you don't duck, because I think that when you have challenges, when you have adversity, you need to face adversity straight on. I think a problem deferred, a difficult decision deferred only gets worse. And so I think you deal with them, and you deal with them in the most responsible way you can with the information that you have. And I think you have to understand that you're not going to get every decision right, and that sometimes you don't have the information you need to make the decision. But kind of the way I talk about it with our team is, when things are going well with the university, the trustees don't really need me. But when things are tough, then they do need me. So, when we have some adversity, that shows they need to keep me around. And so That's why I do those things. But
yeah, I think this last year has been proven to be that exactly. Some other universities, I think, had a little bit more blunders through this, and you were a very steady hand throughout that whole thing.
Well, there was a piece with, if I can just extend that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a piece with that I think really played to our advantage, and that was that one of the decisions I made was that I wasn't going to be involved with the day-to-day management of COVID. And so Janine Ward-Roof was our vice president for student affairs. She headed a broadly based team, which was still meeting, called our campus reentry committee. I think it's about 25 people. And so she, along with a whole number of subcommittees, they dealt with those things. And I was involved with the important decisions. But if you spend all your time working on the challenge of the moment, you can miss the big picture, because the university needed to go forward and we needed to keep our team flexible so we could deal with other things as we moved along. So when you think about it, the middle of March on spring break, we went from everybody out on spring break till when they came back, they were all going to be learning remotely. And then a week later, we closed our residence halls. And so the team did that. I didn't do that. But I think it's surrounding yourself with good people and then getting out of their way so they can do good work.
No, it's great. President Eisler, many presidents have campus buildings named after them. If the university was to name a building after you, what building would you like to be used for? Perhaps a residence hall or an academic building?
Oh, that's not for me to say.
I was expecting that answer.
No, I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had to be president of Ferris.
Yeah.
That's more than enough.
Oh, that's great. What is Dr. Eisler's favorite accomplishment at Ferris?
Well, we're going to always answer these questions by saying they're not my accomplishments, it's the university's accomplishments. And if you work with me much, you'll discover that it's hard for me to choose just one thing. I think it's why my family doesn't go with me when we're shoe shopping. Okay? But I think there's a couple things that really stand out. I think that Ferris Future Scholarship Challenge, that was really a powerful piece, and that's going to make a difference for a long time. And I think the growth and development of our foundation board and the work that they've been able to leave for fundraising. When you think about how much $122 million throws off in interest every year, that's like another $50 million of revenue for the university. So I think that we really leaned hard into student debt and affordability, and I'm really pleased with that. But I think the piece that I'm most excited about is all the people that we've had the opportunity to meet, because universities are really people businesses, and we've met thousands and thousands of students, thousands of alumni, donors, legislators. We've had the opportunity to make friends that would never have happened for us in any other way. And we've gotten to meet some incredible people, and when you get to know them and hear their story, I think that's the piece that I've really enjoyed the most, is getting to know.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Do you have anything special planned for your final year? Perhaps a special event or project that you want to leave your final mark at FSU?
Well, there are some things that we're working on, and so the first three things were to get the Center for Virtual Learning up and running, get the renovation for the IT people and alumni, and to do something for our athletes over. And so those three things are already up and running. We do have another big project that we're just beginning to work on that I think is a major investment in student success and in achievement gaps. And so we're investing in a communications program for our students on campus. We use Salesforce to recruit our students to Ferris, but once they get here, we don't have a platform to regularly communicate with them and to keep them on task in terms of registration or filling out their financial aid forms or catching them if they're maybe slipping up or not doing well. And so we've invested in a program called Navigate. I think that's a game changer for us, because we've had great success in student success, but I think this can take us to the next level, where instead of retaining 70% of our new students, we're retaining 80% of our students. And instead of graduating 60% of our students, we're graduating 70 or 75% of our students. So that's part of it. The other part of that is a major investment in diversity, equity, and inclusion, because one of the things that we need to do better at Ferris are our achievement gaps, which means that our students of color do not do as well in terms of persistence and graduation as the rest of our student body. And so we're gonna take a significant effort over this year. We're gonna create champions to really help us do better in terms of engaging this group of students, figuring out the speed bumps, the obstacles that are tripping them up, and eliminating them so that they can graduate. Because the goal of going to college is to earn your degree. And so that's a major piece that we're going to do that this year. And then obviously we want to finish the comprehensive campaign going strong and upward trajectories for that. And there's probably more, but that's enough for now.
I said that's a pretty full plate for 1 year. Is there anything else you'd want the alumni that are tuned in right now and watching on Facebook Live to hear?
Well, first, I'm very grateful for their support over these years. I'm very grateful for their support of Ferris. And I think I've watched our Alumni Association just grow and prosper, and I've watched the engagement. We're no longer a Michigan-based alumni association. We're a nationally based alumni association. We're connecting with Ferris alums all over the country and in foreign countries too. So, I encourage you to stay engaged. I encourage you to, when you have the opportunity, come to campus, see what we're doing, take a tour. Let us connect you with some of our current students. I know you'll enjoy the experience. And if you want to come back, if your residence hall is still here, come and we'll take it and show you your room, just where you used to stay. And I guarantee the walls are exactly the same as when you were here. But whether you're in Kramer or Ward or Brophy, McNerney, Miller, Travis, wherever. Now we'd love to show you that residence hall. Halsey is still here. Clark, love to show you that hall and let you relive some of those memories, because I guarantee if you go to the door of that room, you're going to remember some of the stories, some of the experiences you had in college. And that's what college is. It's not just about getting an education. It's about developing as an individual and building that network of friends and colleagues that you're going to stay in touch with throughout your career. So keep engaged and come see us. We love seeing and talking to you.
That's just great. Yeah, and speaking personally too, it's been incredible for me over the last couple of years. I still stay in touch with so many of my people that I met at Ferris. I've got one staying the night tonight. I've stood up at so many people's weddings that is Bulldog in the background. My brother-in-law's a Bulldog, so it's just been such a great experience for me at Ferris. And I really wanted to thank you and Patsy. You guys have both been phenomenal over the years that I've known you and been incredibly personable. I would not like to wager on how many people are listening right now who have not had a similar experience. They definitely connect with you, and you do a great job of connecting with tens of thousands of people every year. And I really just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You and Patsy make it a great reminder that today, just like every other day, is a great day to be a Bulldog. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Patsy's been a great partner for me. Our first year we were in Big Rapids, we literally believe we cooked and ate 13 meals at home. So we've traveled a lot of miles and had a lot of opportunities, and she's been a great partner and contributed all the way. So I know that I'm going to miss some of the things that I'm doing at Ferris, and I'm sure she's going to miss some of the things she's doing also. But we look forward to being engaged and being a part of the university community and continue to contribute to Ferris.
Great. Thanks again, Dave. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Anything else, Dave, before we go?
So thanks for having me. And I hope you'll tune in to the next one of these. These are fun.
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you, Luke and President Eisler. It has been a pleasure listening to you both chat about some wonderful Ferris history. I know I'm looking forward to an exciting year on campus, and I appreciate you both spending some time with us this evening. Thank you guys so much. As a reminder, if you missed any part of the presentation or would like to go back and review a section, this interview will be found beginning tomorrow on this website under past events or on our Facebook page at Ferris Alumni. Next month, you won't want to miss our virtual alumni social hour, Bulldog Football, a homecoming tradition. This homecoming feature will be brought to you by no other than the voice of our Bulldogs, Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston, and that will be on Thursday, September 16th at 7 p.m. For more information or to get registered, simply head to the Alumni Association website at ferris.edu/alumni. Thanks again for joining us and have a great evening.